Commander Park Sung-ho stood at the center of his ship's bridge, watching the radar screen with growing concern. Red dots were appearing one by one, like blood drops falling on white paper. Each dot represented an enemy warship twice the size of anything in his small fleet. "Contact at 12 o'clock, sir," called out Navigator Otewu from his station. "Make that 15 contacts. No, wait." His voice trailed off as more ships materialized from the darkness of space. The bridge crew fell silent as they watched. Their instruments. What started as a handful of enemy vessels quickly became 20, then 30, then 50 massive alien warships. Each one looked like a giant metal shark with glowing blue engines and weapon ports that crackled with deadly energy. Sung-ho felt his stomach tighten. He had been in space for 12 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. His reconnaissance group consisted of only 20 small ships, designed for exploration and data gathering, not warfare. They carried basic weapons and shields, enough to handle pirates or asteroids, but not a full alien armada. "Sir, incoming transmission," announced Communications Officer Lee Da-min. Her usually steady hands were shaking slightly as she worked. The controls. "They're using our own communication frequencies somehow." "How is that possible?" asked Lieutenant Kim Bo-ra, the tactical officer. She was young but sharp, and Sung-ho trusted her judgment completely. "Unknown, sir. But they're definitely trying to talk to us." Sung-ho straightened his uniform and cleared his throat. "Put them on the main screen." The front wall of the bridge flickered to life, showing static at first, then gradually focusing into a clear image. What they saw made several crew members gasp audibly. The alien commander was unlike anything from Earth's wildest science fiction movies. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, with 4 yellow eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern on its elongated skull. Its skin looked like polished black, leather that shifted colors from deep purple to midnight black as it moved. 2 sets of arms extended from its torso, each ending in clawed hands that could probably crush a human skull without effort. "I am War Prime Vextac of the mighty Korthani Empire," the creature spoke in perfect English, its voice deep and mechanical. "You have violated our territorial boundaries. Identify yourselves immediately or face complete destruction." Sung-ho stepped forward, trying to project more confidence than he felt. "I am Commander Park Sung-ho of the Earth vessel Busan's Pride. We are a peaceful exploration mission from the planet Earth. We had no knowledge of your territorial claims and mean absolutely no harm to your people." The alien's mandibles clicked, together in what might have been amusement or contempt. Its 4 eyes seemed to examine every detail of the human bridge crew visible on the screen. "Earth," Vextac repeated slowly. "Your primitive vessels suggest a weak and backward civilization. Your technology appears centuries behind our own. We have encountered thousands of species across this galaxy, and yours ranks among the most pathetic." Lieutenant Bo-ra's face flushed red with anger, but Sung-ho raised his hand slightly to keep her quiet. They needed to buy time and gather information. "We're simply explorers," Sung-ho continued calmly. "We can leave your space immediately, if you'll allow us safe passage." "Leave?" The alien commander's scales shifted to a bright crimson color. "You will serve as an example to other inferior species who dare enter Korthani space. Prepare to witness the true power of our empire." The transmission cut off abruptly. For a moment, the bridge was completely silent, except for the humming of the ship's engines and the beeping of various instruments. "Sir," Bo-ra called out urgently, "their weapon systems are charging. Energy readings are off the charts." Suddenly, space around them lit up like a deadly light show. Beams of superheated plasma streaked from the alien ships, each one capable of melting through the hull of a human vessel like a hot knife through butter. The first barrage caught 3 of Sung-ho's ships completely off guard. The exploratory vessel Gwangju's Hope simply vanished in a brilliant explosion. The research. Ship Daegu's Dream broke apart in slow motion, its crew compartment spinning away into the void. The supply vessel Inchen's Gift lasted a few seconds longer before its reactor went critical and exploded like a miniature star. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Sung-ho shouted into his communicator. "Pattern Delta, return fire with everything." "We have." The Busan's Pride shook violently as enemy fire struck their shields. Sparks flew from control panels as the ship's systems struggled to handle the massive energy impacts. The lights flickered on and off as power was redirected to defensive systems. Human nuclear missiles launched from the surviving ships, their contrails creating white streaks against the black of space. Railgun rounds followed, traveling at tremendous speeds toward the alien fleet. But the enemy shields absorbed the impacts easily, barely flickering under the assault. It was like watching 20 housecats attack 50 tigers. 48 hours had passed since the first alien attack, and Commander Park Sung-ho barely recognized what remained of his once proud fleet. The bridge of the Busan's Pride looked like a war zone. Twisted metal panels hung from the ceiling, sparking electrical cables snaked across the floor, and emergency lights cast everything in an eerie red glow. "Damage report," Sung-ho called out, gripping the armrest of his command chair as another. Alien plasma bolts struck their failing shields. "Hull integrity at 30%, reported Engineer Kang Min-ho, his uniform torn and stained with hydraulic fluid. "We've lost main engines 2 and 4. Life support is running on backup power. At this rate, we have maybe 6 hours of breathable air left." Through the cracked viewport, Sung-ho could see the wreckage of what used to be the exploration vessel. Ulson's Dream slowly tumbling through space, its broken hull trailing frozen atmosphere like ghostly ribbons. 10 ships had been completely destroyed. The survivors limped along on damaged engines, desperately trying to stay ahead of the alien hunters. The Kothani warships pursued them like wolves chasing wounded deer. They could have finished off the human fleet hours ago, but instead, they seemed to be playing with their prey. Every few minutes they would unleash a barrage of weapons fire, just enough to cripple another human vessel without destroying it outright. "Sir, the cargo ship Jeju's Hope is losing attitude control," reported Navigation Officer Oh Tai-woo. "They're asking for assistance." Sung-ho watched helplessly as the supply vessel spun out of control, its engines flickering and dying. Within seconds, 3 alien fighters swooped in like mechanical vultures. Their precision beam weapons sliced through the ship's hull with surgical accuracy, targeting the bridge and engine compartments. The crew had just enough time to scream before their ship broke apart. "Bastards," muttered Lieutenant Kim Bo-ra from her tactical station. Her face was pale and drawn from exhaustion, but her eyes still burned with determination. "They're not even trying to capture prisoners. They're just playing with us." "Sir, incoming transmission," announced Communications Officer Lee Da-min. Her voice was hoarse from breathing the ship's increasingly stale recycled air. "It's the alien commander again." The main screen flickered to life, showing War Prime Vextac in all his terrifying glory. The alien seemed even more pleased with himself than before. His 4 yellow eyes practically glowed with satisfaction, and his scales had shifted to a deep golden color that probably indicated joy or triumph in his species. "Greetings, surviving humans," Vextac said, his mechanical voice dripping with mock politeness. "I must admit your persistence has been quite entertaining. Most species surrender or flee after losing half their forces, but you continue to fight against impossible odds." "We're not your entertainment," Sung-ho replied through gritted teeth. Behind him, he could hear the steady beeping of life support, alarms and the hiss of escaping atmosphere from hull breaches that couldn't be properly sealed. "Oh, but you are," the alien commander chuckled, a sound like grinding metal. "My crew has been watching your pathetic attempts at warfare with great amusement. Your weapons are so primitive, your tactics so basic. It's like watching children play with wooden swords against trained warriors." Vextac leaned closer to his communication device, his 4 eyes focusing intently on Sung-ho. "I will make you an offer, human commander. Surrender your remaining vessels now, and I may allow some of your species to survive as slaves in our empire. You would be useful for manual labor and perhaps scientific experiments. It is far more mercy than most inferior races receive." The bridge crew looked at their commander expectantly. Several officers had families back on Earth, wives and children who would never see them again if they died here. The logical choice was obvious: surrender and hope for survival. "Never," Sung-ho said firmly, his voice carrying clearly across the comm channel. "We are explorers from Earth, and we don't bow to bullies." The alien scales shifted to angry red. "Then you will die slowly and painfully, watching your companions perish one by one. So be it." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. But as soon as the alien commander's image disappeared, Sung-Ho quickly activated his personal communication unit. He turned away from the main crew and spoke in a low, urgent whisper. "Bora, are you still getting all the tactical data transmitted back to Earth Command?" Lieutenant Kim Bora nodded grimly while pretending to study her damaged console. Every single weapon signature, every shield frequency, every tactical maneuver. "They've used. Our long-range communications array is badly damaged, but it's still functional. Command is receiving detailed analysis of everything, their plasma cannon charge rates, their shield harmonics, their ship formations, even their communication. Protocols." "Excellent," Sung-Ho whispered back. "What about their pursuit patterns? All recorded and transmitted. We've documented their hunting strategies, their preferred attack vectors, even the way they coordinate between different ship classes. Earth's military will know exactly what they're facing." Sung-Ho allowed himself a small, grim smile. "Good. That's the real reason we're out here. The truth was that this reconnaissance mission had always been partially expendable. Earth's leaders knew that first contact with an alien species might not go peacefully. So they had sent exploration ships equipped with the most advanced sensor and communication equipment available, with orders to gather as much intelligence as possible about any potential threats. The aliens pressed their attack again, clearly savoring their overwhelming technological superiority. Their ships moved through space like deadly dancers, weaving between the human vessels and unleashing precisely targeted bursts of energy. They had no idea that every shot they fired was being carefully analyzed by Earth's most advanced computers, millions of miles away. Captain Choi Min-sik's clawed feet clicked nervously against the metal floor as he approached the War Prime's command chamber. The Kothani intelligence officer had served in the military for over 2 decades, participating in the conquest of 17 different star systems. He had interrogated prisoners from dozens of alien species, but something about the humans deeply troubled him. The massive doors to Vextak's private quarters hissed open, revealing the War Prime lounging on his elevated command throne. The chamber was decorated with trophies from conquered worlds, crystalline formations from the Zephyrian homeworld, metallic sculptures from the defeated Roktar Empire, and preserved specimens from various extinct species. It was a monument to Kothani superiority. "War Prime," Min-sik began, his voice betraying his unease. "I must report on the human prisoner interrogations." Vextak didn't even look up from the holographic battle reports he was reviewing. "Are they finally ready to reveal the location of their homeworld? I grow tired of these primitive creatures." "Sir, that's not exactly—" Min-sik paused, trying to find the right words. "We have discovered something very disturbing about the nature of this human force." Now Vextak raised his massive head, all 4 eyes focusing on his intelligence officer. "Disturbing how? They are clearly an inferior species with outdated technology. What could possibly be disturbing about such weaklings?" Min-sik activated his datapad, pulling up the interrogation transcripts. The humans consistently refer to their force as Reconnaissance Group Charlie 9. When we pressed them about their military strength, they seemed genuinely confused by our questions. Confused? Vextak's scales began to shift from their relaxed blue color to a more alert yellow. "Explain this confusion." "Sir, they act as if 20 ships is insignificant. One prisoner, a human female named Officer Yoon Ha-young, actually laughed when we asked about their main fleet." The War Prime stood up abruptly, his 8-foot frame towering over the intelligence officer. "She laughed at us?" "Yes, sir, but not in defiance or bravery. She seemed genuinely amused by the question itself. When I demanded to know the size of their real military, she said, and I quote directly from the recording, 'This is just a scouting mission. Why would we send the real Navy for first contact? That would be like using a sledgehammer to crack an egg.'" Vextak's scales rapidly shifted to pale green, a color that indicated deep concern among the Kothani. What exactly did she mean by real Navy? Min-sik consulted his datapad again, his hands visibly shaking. "That's where it gets worse, sir. Under enhanced interrogation, the prisoners revealed details about something they called Terror Defense Command. They mentioned multiple fleet groups, numbered systems, and what they refer to as colonial defense networks." "Colonial," Vextak's voice became dangerously quiet. They have colonies? According to the prisoners, sir, yes, many colonies. The human named Engineer Kang Minho mentioned something called Sector 7 Defense Grid and Mars Orbital Platform Command. When pressed for numbers, he said there were dozens of worlds under human control. The War Prime began pacing back and forth, his massive clawed feet leaving scratches in the metal flooring. Dozens of worlds? But their technology is so primitive. Sir, I've been thinking about this. What if their technology isn't primitive at all? What if these reconnaissance ships are simply basic models? The humans keep talking about exploration class and research variants, as if their ships come in different categories. Minsik pulled up another file. There's more, sir. During interrogation, Lieutenant Kim Bora mentioned something called battle cruiser squadrons and dreadnought formations. When I asked what those were, she looked at me like I was stupid and said, "Those are the ships designed for actual fighting, not exploring." Vextak stopped pacing. His scales had now shifted to a sickly yellow-green color that indicated extreme anxiety. "Are you telling me that we may have attacked their equivalent of scientific survey teams?" "Sir, I believe that's exactly what happened. The prisoners keep referring to their force as a first contact mission and seem genuinely surprised that we responded with violence. One of them, Navigator O-Tae Wu, actually asked me why we didn't try diplomatic communication first. The FI intelligence officer activated a holographic display showing the human ship designs they had captured. Look at these vessels, sir. Now that I examine them more carefully, they're clearly built for long-range exploration, not warfare. Extended. Life support systems, advanced sensor arrays, minimal armor, basic weapons for asteroid clearing and pirate defense. But they fought so fiercely, Vextak protested, though his voice lacked conviction. Sir, they fought like explorers protecting their crewmates, not like soldiers in a military engagement. Every tactical decision they made was defensive, designed to buy time and protect their people. They never once attempted an offensive strike against our command ships. Minsik brought up the final piece of evidence that had been keeping him awake for hours. War Prime, there's one more thing. The humans have been transmitting detailed battle data back to their homeworld throughout this entire engagement. What kind of data? Everything, sir, our weapons signatures, our shield frequencies, our tactical formations, our ship specifications. They've been studying us while we've been slaughtering them. The horrible realization began to dawn on Vextak. His scales shifted to pure white, a color that indicated terror among his species. They were gathering intelligence. Yes, sir. And if this was truly just a reconnaissance mission with basic exploration ships, Minsik's voice trailed off, then their real military knows exactly how to fight us, Vextak finished the thought, and we have no idea what their actual warships are capable of. The command chamber fell silent, except for the humming of the ship's engines. Both aliens stared at the holographic display of human ship designs, suddenly seeing them, not as primitive vessels, but as sophisticated intelligence-gathering platforms that had accomplished their mission perfectly. "Sir," Minsik whispered, "what have we done?" Intelligence Officer Graktal's three-chambered hearts were beating so fast they sounded like war drums as he raced through the corridors of the Korthani flagship. His breathing apparatus, designed to filter the ship's methane-rich atmosphere, wheezed and hissed with each panicked breath. In his clawed hands, he clutched a data crystal containing the most terrifying information he had ever encountered in his 30 years of military service. The command center's massive doors slid open with a pneumatic hiss, and Graktal practically threw himself into the room. The circular chamber was filled with dozens of Korthani officers monitoring various tactical displays, their scales glowing softly in the blue light of their instruments. At the center of it all sat War Prime Vextak, still reviewing casualty reports from their glorious victory over the primitive human fleet. "War Prime," Graktal gasped, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Emergency intelligence report, we've intercepted human communications." Every officer in the command center turned to stare at the intelligence officer. Vextak slowly raised his massive head, his four eyes focusing on the obviously distressed subordinate. "Calm yourself, Graktal. What communications? The human fleet is nearly destroyed." "Sir, that's just it," Graktal activated his data crystal, and holographic text began scrolling through the air above the central command table. These aren't from the ships we've been fighting. These are long-range transmissions from something much, much larger. The War Prime stood up, his full 8-foot height casting shadows across the room. "Show me!" Graktal's claws danced across his control interface, and suddenly the chamber filled with intercepted human voices. The alien translation systems had been working overtime to decode the Earth languages, and what they revealed made the blood in every Korthani officer's veins turn to ice. Terra Command to Colonial Fleet 7, we have received distress signals from Reconnaissance Group Charlie 9. Prepare for immediate deployment. Lunar Defense Grid is charging all orbital weapons platforms. Mars Command reports battlecruiser squadrons Alpha through Delta are ready for hyperspace jump. Jupiter Station acknowledges. Dreadnought formations are moving to jump coordinates. Saturn Defense Ring is coordinating with outer system patrol groups. Vextac's scales began shifting rapidly through different colors as his brain processed what he was hearing. Terra Command? Lunar Defense Grid? How many separate military installations are they referencing? Graktal consulted his data crystal, his hands shaking visibly. "Sir, our linguistic analysis computer has identified references to 47. Different military commands. Terra Command appears to be their primary headquarters. Lunar Defense Grid seems to be some kind of orbital weapons platform around their moon. But, sir, that's not the worst part. What could be worse than 47 military bases? Each one appears to command multiple fleets. We've intercepted references to colonial fleet commands numbered up to at least 15. Each colony world seems to maintain its own defensive navy, separate from their main military." The command center had gone completely silent. Every Korthani officer was staring at the holographic display, watching more intercepted communications scroll past. The sheer volume of military references was staggering. The humans weren't just talking about a few ships, they were coordinating what appeared to be a massive interstellar military complex. "Sir," Graktal continued, his voice barely above a whisper, "if our calculations are correct based on standard military organization patterns, we're looking at thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands." War Prime Vextac's 4 eyes widened in horror. His scales had turned completely white, a color that indicated absolute terror in Korthani physiology. "Tens of thousands, that's impossible. Their ships are primitive." "Sir, what if they're not primitive? What if the ships we've been fighting are just old models, basic exploration vessels?" Intelligence Officer Thekmar spoke up from his monitoring station. "We've intercepted references to something called Mark 7 dreadnoughts and Titan-class battleships. Those don't sound like exploration vessels." Graktal nodded grimly. "The humans keep using terms like combat variants and military specification. Sir, I think we may have attacked their equivalent of unarmed civilian researchers." The War Prime began pacing back and forth, his massive clawed feet leaving deep gouges in the floor. "But why would they send unarmed ships into unknown space?" "Because, sir," Captain Minsick interjected from across the room, "they weren't expecting to find hostile aliens. The intercepted communications suggest this was a genuine peaceful exploration mission. They seemed genuinely surprised that we responded with violence." Suddenly the command center's alert klaxons began blaring. The main tactical display lit up with new contacts, and Navigator Velkoth's voice boomed through the chamber's speakers. "War Prime, we're detecting massive hyperspace signatures approaching our position. Multiple contacts. Sir, I'm reading energy signatures unlike anything in our databases." Graktal rushed to his sensor station, his claws clicking rapidly across the controls. "Sir, whatever's coming through hyperspace, it's big. Really big. The energy readings are off our scales." "How many ships?" Vextac demanded. I can't tell, sir. The hyperspace distortions are too massive. It's like trying to count raindrops in a hurricane." Through the command center's viewports, they could see space itself beginning to warp and twist. Bright flashes of light appeared in the distance as something enormous prepared to emerge from hyperspace. The very fabric of reality seemed to be bending around whatever was approaching. "Sir," Graktal said quietly, "I think we're about to meet the real human fleet." War Prime Vextac stared out at the approaching hyperspace distortions and realized, with growing horror, that they had made the worst tactical error in Korthani military history. They hadn't defeated an enemy fleet. They had murdered a group of peaceful explorers and invited the wrath of an entire interstellar civilization. Admiral Kwon Jae-sung stood motionless on the bridge of the massive dreadnought Seoul's Hammer, his hands clasped behind his back, as he watched the tactical display with the calm confidence of a man who had spent 40 years defending humanity among the stars. The bridge around him was a cathedral of military technology, gleaming metal surfaces, holographic displays showing real-time battle data, and nearly 100 crew members working with practiced efficiency. "Hyperspace emergence in 30 seconds, announced Navigation Officer Yoo Hee-jin from her station. "All fleet groups report ready for combat deployment." Through the massive reinforced viewport that dominated the front of the bridge, space itself began to twist and bend. Reality warped like heated glass as the laws of physics bent around the approaching human fleet. Brilliant flashes of blue and white light erupted across the darkness as 300 warships prepared to emerge from hyperspace. "Sir," reported Weapons Officer Park Dong-wook, "all gun batteries are charged and ready. Nuclear torpedo tubes are loaded. Plasma cannons are at full power." Admiral Kwon nodded slightly. The Seoul's Hammer alone carried enough firepower to level a small moon. Its hull was 2 kilometers long and covered in armor plating that had been reverse-engineered from dozens of alien technologies encountered over the past century. Humanity had learned long ago that the galaxy was not a peaceful place. Fleet emergence now. Space exploded with light as 300 human warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Each vessel was a masterpiece of military engineering, twice the size of the largest Kothani ship, bristling with weapons that made the alien plasma cannons look like children's toys. The fleet moved with mechanical precision, spreading out in a formation that completely surrounded the alien force. "My God," whispered Communications Officer Lee Jung-min. "Look at the alien ships. They're tiny compared to ours." Through the tactical display, they could see the 50 Kothani vessels that had been hunting Commander Park's reconnaissance group. What had seemed like an overwhelming force to the exploration ships now looked pathetic next to humanity's actual military might. The largest alien vessel was barely half the size of the Seoul's Hammer's escort frigates. "Admiral," reported Captain Nam Soo-jin from the tactical station, her voice crisp and professional. "Enemy fleet is breaking formation. They appear to be attempting to retreat." "Negative," Admiral Kwon replied firmly. "Deploy interdiction fields. Nothing leaves this system until we're finished here." Instantly, dozens of human ships activated their gravity well projectors. The space around the alien fleet became a prison of twisted physics that made hyperspace travel impossible. The Kothani vessels found themselves trapped like insects in amber. "Sir, we're receiving multiple surrender signals from the alien fleet," Lee Jung-min reported. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." "Open all channels," Admiral Kwon commanded. "Let's hear what they have to say." The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the alien flagship. War Prime Vextak appeared on screen, but he looked nothing like the arrogant predator who had taunted Commander Park days earlier. His 4 eyes darted nervously around his own bridge, and his scales had shifted to a sickly yellow color that spoke of absolute terror. "Please," Vextak began, his mechanical voice cracking with desperation. "Great human commanders, we did not know. Your reconnaissance force fought bravely. We believed they were your primary military strength." Admiral Kwon's expression remained stern and unforgiving. Behind him, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, but he could feel their anger radiating through the room like heat from a furnace. Every person on this ship had read the reports of what happened to the exploration fleet. "You attacked a peaceful exploration mission," Admiral Kwon said, his voice carrying the authority of humanity's combined military might. "You murdered brave men and women who came to your space in friendship, carrying messages of peace and cooperation. We made a terrible mistake," Vextak pleaded. "In our empire, all ships are military vessels. We did not understand that yours were civilians." "They weren't civilians," Captain Nam Soo-jin interjected coldly. "They were explorers, scientists, people whose only mission was to make contact with new species and learn about the galaxy, and you hunted them like animals." On the tactical display, They could see the scattered wreckage of the human exploration fleet. The twisted remains of ships like the Ulsan's Dream and Jeju's Hope floated silently through space, tomb markers for crews who would never see Earth again. "We surrender," Vextak said desperately. "Please, mighty humans, show mercy to our forces. We will do anything you demand." Admiral Quan was quiet for a long moment, studying the alien commander who had caused so much death and suffering. Around him, the bridge crew waited for his decision. Through the viewport, the 300 ships of humanity's response fleet hung in space like sleeping giants, their weapons trained on the pathetic remnant of the Korthani force. "I will stand down all weapons immediately," Admiral Quan finally said. "You will provide full reparations for our losses, ships, equipment, and compensation for the families of the dead. Most importantly, you will spread word throughout your empire and beyond. Earth does not seek war, but we are prepared for it." "Yes," Vextak responded immediately. "Yes, we agree to all terms. We will tell every species we encounter about human strength and mercy." "See that you do," Admiral Quan replied. "Because if we ever encounter Korthani forces attacking peaceful beings again, we will not be so understanding." As the alien ships began powering down their weapons in defeat, Admiral Quan turned to his personal log recorder. "Personal log, Admiral. Quan Jae-sung. First contact incident with the Korthani Empire has been resolved. Reconnaissance Group Charlie 9 has been avenged. The alien force has learned that humanity's true strength lies not in the ships they can see, but in the thousands they cannot." Meanwhile, in the medical bay of the Soul's Hammer, Commander Park Sung-ho lay in a recovery bed, his body healing from injuries sustained during the running battle. Through the medical bay's viewport, he could see the surrendering alien fleet, and smiled grimly. His crew had paid a terrible price, but their sacrifice had served a greater purpose. The mission had been a success in ways the enemy would never fully understand. Not only had they gathered crucial intelligence about alien military capabilities, but Earth now had its first diplomatic contact with a galactic empire. The galaxy had learned that humanity was not just another primitive species to be conquered or enslaved. They had learned that Earth's children were explorers and scientists, but they were also warriors when they needed to be. And they had learned that attacking peaceful humans was the fastest way to meet the rest of humanity's vast, interstellar fleet. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had truly begun. The end.